Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Channels Television, celebrating 21 years of professional broadcasting. This is the news at 10, a reminder of our major stories tonight. Nigeria marks 56th independence anniversary. President Buhari promises a restructuring of the economy to get the nation out of recession. Prominent Nigerians bear their minds on the state of the nation, stress the need for Nigerians to remain positive about the nation's future. Speakers at the platform in Lagos X-ray Nigeria's challenges and chart path towards the emergence of a new nation. And scores of people killed in Aleppo, Syria after an air raid. They hit a hospital for the second time in days. A reminder here that all our top stories can be found on our websites, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to view us live on a mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. Besides the news and updates, the Channels TV app has an Eyewitness feature. We encourage you to use it to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Let's take a look at some of the pictures that you sent into Eyewitness portal. Many of them have to do with the Independence Day celebration. Today marks Nigeria's 56th independence. As part of the celebration, some youths from St. Michael's Catholic Church, Ikorodu, Lagos, took to the streets to celebrate with other Nigerians. Eyewitness reporter caught this picture. It's a rally trying to show how positive Nigerians can be. Our next image is from Lagos State, showing some Nigerians celebrating the Independence Day. More green, white, green attire, similar to that one. This picture is from Abuja, the nation's capital, showing youth celebrating Nigeria's Independence Day. Our reporter believes there is hope for Nigeria and citizens should not give up. And all the way from far away Japan comes this photo of some Nigerians and their Japanese friends celebrating the Independence Day. Thank you for sending in those pictures. Know that you too can become an Eyewitness reporter for Channels Television. Keep those pictures coming, especially about how you spent your Independence Day. Now, many Nigerians are measuring the journey so far after 56 years of sovereignty, as well as the prospects for the future. For some of the older generation, it's a time for sober reflection, a time to rethink the very essence of what our founding fathers fought for. This is the stance of a nonagenarian and elder statesman, Chief Obafemi Olopade, who shared his views on our special independence program, Nigeria at 56.
Nigeria has gone through a series of development, but I'm very sorry to say that we haven't got much to show for what we have achieved within the last 56 years. Let's not deceive ourselves. We have to be honest here. We have not achieved anything that is worth mentioning. The reason being, we are convergent in our views, we are not divergent. You see this way, you don't spread that way. And as a result, what you miss here and what you miss here, you cannot recall them. But if you decide that you want a country that would stand amongst nations and say, here I am as one of millions of people, you have to be honest with yourself, which is what we are lacking in this country. We are not honest with ourselves. At level, no matter the level, in the church, schools, mosque, workplace, nobody's honest with each other. We tend to sing praises, forget the realities of life. What have we achieved in 56 years? For God's sake. We carried placard in the UK. We are beaten by British policemen for asking for our rights, not a privilege, our rights. We needed it, we wanted it, we thought we deserved it. Okay, we got it. What have we done with it? That's the million-dollar question. We are not being honest, I'm sorry to say. And that's the key word, being honest with ourselves.
Elder statesman Chief Obafemi Olopade. Nigeria's young generation should pay attention to what's going on in the country so they will not be pulled into what has been described as wrong politics. These were some of the comments made by the senior pastor of Covenant Christian Center and founder of the platform, Boju Oyemade, and other speakers today.
Celebrating Nigeria at 56 may not be complete without taking some time to reflect on the journey and the reality of the country's current situation. Aptly, the Covenant Christian Center provides the opportunity for such discourse at the 2016 Independence Day edition of the platform, which focuses on the economic value of Nigeria and how the nation can be made to work. And who best to contribute to this discourse than this roll call of speakers? A bishop, a pastor, a university don, a former governor, a lawyer, a journalist, and an art and creative director. Setting the tone, the visionary and senior pastor of the Covenant Christian Center, Pastor Boju Oyemade, underlines the importance of Nigeria getting her politics right.
The only power comparable as destructive to man as wrong politics might be nature. Listen, there are people today in Nigeria who are suffering in business not because they are not good entrepreneurs, not because they have not read the right books. Some people in the last 1 year, the value of their company has gone down 30%, not because they did anything wrong as entrepreneurs, but because the politics was wrong. And that's why we are saying this generation must, as we are working, we must open our eyes and pay attention to the politics.
Speaking on the topic, unleashing the potential for wealth creation, the senior pastor, Daystar Christian Center, Pastor Sam Adeyemi, lists solutions to some bottlenecks in the system.
We must compel our political and economic institutions to make credit available to us to actualize our ideas. We must compel the legislative and executive arms of government to rapidly increase the ease of doing business in our country. No one should be allowed to go into government to get rich. Any government at any level that does not expend most of the budget to build world-class infrastructure to make it easy for us citizens to prosper from now should be voted out.
Now time to suggest ways to cutting cost of governance in Nigeria. And then the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, shares his insider experience.
In 2006, when I started, the budget to repair the government house was 298 million. To repair the governor's lodge was 481 million. I repaired everything in the government house, which is governor's office. I repaired everything with 43,200,000. The only thing I didn't buy new was furniture.
Of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Kuka suggests the antidote.
Nation. You're welcome, sir.
Political stability is a project, it's a science, it's an act. And a government that does not plan for how to secure its nation, and I'm not talking here about the military, no. I'm not talking here about guns, no. I'm talking here about the imagination to figure out whether by mythology, whether by art, to think a bit more clearly about how to unite a divided nation.
Speakers at the Platform 2016 agree on one thing, that no one will fix Nigeria but Nigerians themselves. And this 56th Independence Day anniversary should serve as a turning point for individuals to take up this responsibility.
My job is to take the right decisions for the benefit of the.
We'll take a break from Independence Day celebrations to talk about security in the Northeast. During his recent outing at the UN General Assembly in New York, the president affirmed that about 600,000 people have become refugees in neighboring countries, while about 2 million have been displaced internally due to Boko Haram insurgency. The president's disclosure came as other organizations such as UNICEF and UNESCO have put the number of persons in need of urgent humanitarian assistance at tens of thousands, while many up to 75,000 are likely to die within the next 1 year from malnutrition. For many analysts, the situation in Nigeria's northeast is nothing short of a humanitarian disaster. Let's talk more about this now. Joining me now on the news at 10 is the Executive Secretary of the Victim Support Fund, Professor Sunday Ochoche. He's in our studio in Abuja. Dr. Ochoche, it's great to have you on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, in view of several reports of the humanitarian crisis in the northeast, what's your assessment of the situation there?
Well, the humanitarian situation in the northeast is there. It's a major challenge. It's a problem. The crisis is huge. As you rightly noted, we have several million right now officially identified as internally displaced. Quite a number are refugees outside the country, and outside the number of internally displaced persons and refugees, growing crisis of malnutrition among adults, women, and children. There is growing crisis of homelessness, especially in a situation now where so many, or virtually all the places formerly occupied by Boko Haram have been recovered by the military. We are now being faced with the totality of the crisis that we have. And all that is manifesting is that it is a major, major crisis on our hands.
And what are you doing about it? You've already painted the picture of a humanitarian situation that's growing in the northeast. What's your organization doing about it?
My organization, the Victim Support Fund, is one of the major actors in the northeast. There are many other other agencies involved with the humanitarian component. In particular, you have the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Each of the 6 northern states, of the northeastern states, also has a state emergency management agency. These are working very closely to manage the humanitarian component, the feeding dimension, the health component, the displacement component, shelter for the IDPs, the management of even those across the borders. So they are working very hard, working in tandem with each other to manage the situation. In addition, you have many of the international organizations, the UNHCR, ICRC, you have UNICEF, a number of these also actively involved. For Victim Support Fund, the humanitarian component has not been one that we have been too directly involved. We have been engaged with the support to the health component. We are supporting a total of 16 hospitals right now to enhance their capacity to deliver health to the victims of the insurgency. We are also involved with the reconstruction of public infrastructure. In a number of the places, we just commissioned all the public infrastructure in Dikwa, in Borno State, and most of these, in the first instance, are going to be used as shelter for the IDPs before they will revert to be used for the purposes for which they were originally intended.
And all of this, Dr. Professor,
program elsewhere. We are in the process of beginning the.
Professor, all of this sounds, a bit capital intensive. I mean, I don't imagine that your organization is doing all of this by itself. You mentioned a few people you're working with, but how are you raising funds to be able to achieve many of these things that you're talking about?
Yes, a lot of them are capital intensive, and it's not the intention or the desire or the Victim Support Fund does not in any way pretend that the funds it has will be able to significantly address the challenges that we are engaged with. And like we keep emphasizing, indeed, there is no single agency out there that has the capacity to address all of the problems. The funds that we have, we consider as catalytic funds. They are to trigger crucial and strategic activities on the part of
Professor
different agencies themselves, but also in particular the victims. So
Professor Choche, thank you so much for speaking with us on the news at 10. I'll be speaking with the Executive Secretary of the Victim Support Fund, Professor Sunday Ochoche. And still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's central bank raises the requirement for the position of chief compliance officers in the nation's commercial banks. We'll have more in business news.